it doesn't interfere with our system here. Okay. That's got to be 10 seconds, right? Okay. I'd like to call our city council meeting to order and ask everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The roll, please.
Belkey. Here. Belzak.
Here.
Kenny.
Here.
Marquez.
Here.
McIver. Shower.
Here.
Seifert.
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
We have a quorum. The next item is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the city council on any items. They could be on the agenda this evening, or if there is an issue you just want to bring to the attention of the city council, you can take this opportunity to come forward and speak to us. Would anybody in the audience like to come forward?
Good evening.
We need to know who you are.
Absolutely. I am Tom Pantoni. I live in Darien. I live on Brookbank, 7317, and we are here with a couple of our residents in question to a order that has come about on parking.
Yes,
And
it's
to-
our item A on new business tonight.
Yes, and we have kind of gotten the survey that came about to kind of go about this kind of how it was approached to us and how the survey came about and to what our stance was on that point. And what we kind of thought was, we had no problem with it. We had some people that were for parking on one side, some people were parking for a permit, and next we're getting a fact that there's going to be no parking at all on either side of the street. And we're kind of curious as to how this just came about in our eyes, that there was a survey 1, a survey 2, and now there is a answer to the problem as no parking at all on Brookbank or on Evans. And we're kind of as a loss as to how that came about.
It's been a very long process, to be honest with you. This is not the first time that the city council has addressed the issue of parking in the Marion Hills area adjacent to the high school. We've been dealing with this issue for years. And it all comes about from complaints about the parking that comes from the high school.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what motivated it in the first place. So in the Municipal Services Committee made their best effort with a number of surveys to all of the residents that were impacted to try to come up with a response, an answer to the parking problem. And there was no clear consensus as to what solution should be promulgated.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what, and if, I don't know if any of the committee members would like to address that, but what's on our agenda this evening is the motion amending our ordinances to put up signs that say no parking on Brookbank and Evans for school hours and events, high school events, period. And if any residents need to have parking on the street for any of their family members, guests, whatever, all they need to do is call our police department to let them know that they have visitors. So that's what's on the agenda this evening. So I know Alderman Belkey has been very involved in this. So do you want to address that?
Yeah, I mean, just to fill in more of the blanks of kind of where the survey left off and where we are today, what happened is, there was no consensus, right? But as far as extending the hours, which was one of those options on the survey, all it said was extend the hours until 8 o'clock at night. So what happens if an event is on a weekend or something? So it didn't really address these tournaments going on or, games or something. So that's kind of why it got extended to just anything high school related. That's how that evolved. And then when we asked the chief, what he thought from a police standpoint would be the safest and the best route, and that's what he recommended too as his first choice. So municipal services, brainstormed, and that's how that came up, and then it became on the agenda to create an ordinance around it, and that's kind of where I stepped in and said, well, these residents don't know, if this passes, then the next thing they'll know, they'll get a letter saying that this is the thing. So I just wanted to kind of get the feedback, and I appreciate you being here. We're still talking about it. That's the point, to bring it up and see what concerns you have.
I'm his wife, Carla. So obviously, I live on Brookbank as well. And so one of the things I had a question about was a lot of the Brookbank residents I didn't think had an issue. Were there actually any complaints on Brookbank itself, or is it just Evans that have had most of the issues? I know people park on our street. We've never had a problem with it, and it seems like
We've been
most
kinda
of the
dealing with
neighbors
it,
don't. We've been dealing with it for years, and
Yeah, the Brookbank and Evans, they all responded to the survey. So
Right, I know
again,
it's
there
on the
wasn't a
survey.
consensus. Some had a problem with it and some didn't. So you had a mixed bag there.
It seemed like it was a 50-50 though, not a clear cut that we had a major problem. We've been living with it and dealing with it and kind of getting around with it, but it didn't seem like there was a big, huge, all one side yes or all one side no. I was kind of like, well, 50-50, so let's just take it away completely. We could kind of live with as is or one side, so I guess we're still,
Yeah,
as you mentioned,
yeah.
still in the early stages.
Yeah,
It's not
I
a
think that's why I
finalized
wanted
thing.
to bring it up as a new business, which means we can still discuss it. And I let the council know that, there would be residents giving their feedback. But I can tell you that, Evans seems to be the stronger, but there are some Brookbank, but, that's why I appreciate the Brookbank people saying, hey, you know what, maybe that's too extreme for us.
thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dan.
Hi, I'm on Evans Place,
Uh,
Jenny
in your-
Magner.
Pardon me?
Evans Place, Jenny Magner,
Okay, Jenny.
7301 Evans. So, as far as your new business, this parking issue, it was never really, I agree with Tom and Carla, it was never really an issue for us until Tina pointed out to me that some of these complaints have been related to a safety issue, and for the first time, it occurred to me, what if an ambulance had to come and get me? Obviously, they can't get through. So, okay, I get it. So, like Tom and Carla, been dealing with it, not a problem, but I sure would like to get picked up by an ambulance if I need to, so I would favor parking on one side as opposed to not parking at all. And I don't care if it's on our side, so that's sort of where I stand on that. But I'm really here for a newer piece of business that's related to that, which I've reported to the police and the school. We have 11 preschool to high school age kids just on our one block alone. Evans is one block long. And 2 of them have been hit this school year by cars during the morning and afternoon rush. And they were teenagers, and they're just knocked off the side of the road into the ditch or, the drainage. And they were fine, they didn't need medical attention or anything. But if this was one of the little ones making his way to or from the bus, they would have been potentially under a car. So I just really don't want us to wait until a child gets hurt on our street before we do something about the fact that our street is the driveway to and from the school. And that because of the narrowness of the road, and because of the impatience of the parents that are doing the dropping off and the picking up, that they don't yield for one another as they're passing each other, so they're knocking kids off the street.
Yeah.
And it's not okay. So we either need to make it no longer the driveway to and from the school, or at least put in some speed bumps. So that's why I'm here.
Okay,
It kills me to think, that someday one of these little kids is gonna get hurt, and I've reported it, and I don't know what else to do.
yeah, we talked about the issue of speed bumps during our work session also, and we have criteria that we must evaluate. First of all, we have to get the information and then evaluate that criteria to see if the street does require or falls into the category of having a speed bump on it. So that's a pretty big obligation, even with a speed bump on it. We've learned from other municipalities.
Say it's a big obligation, what do you mean? Like it's
Signage.
difficult to meet the criteria? to get a
Yes,
speed bump?
yes. There's a lot of criteria that have to be met in order to
Children
allow.
being hit doesn't meet that criteria?
I forgot what all the criteria is, but we do traffic counts. We do. I can't remember all the criteria. Dan, do you remember?
Not offhand, but basically has to be so far from an intersection. Again, where do you place it? One of the biggest concerns that we normally have with a speed bump is where do we put it? Usually, what will happen is you will hear the sounds of a delivery truck, for example,
Sure.
when it goes over that speed bump. So we want to make sure the residents are well aware of that. Many residents don't want to have it per se in front of their driveway.
Sure.
So again, it's basically a petition-based form, and if you want, I can leave you my business card, and you can give me a call in the morning. I'd be more than happy to meet out there with you and show you what the criteria is all about, but it is petition-driven, okay? And
Okay, so not to speculate too far into the future, but we've got a lot of driveways and they're pretty staggered, so I'm guessing that, there's a likelihood that we don't meet those criteria. What do we do about kids getting hit?
Well, again, I don't want to jump to conclusions and tell you it doesn't want to meet it, nor do I want to steer you in that perspective either. So let's evaluate it first, and again,
Okay.
there's always other traffic calming devices that we could look into.
Okay.
We don't have any of those right off, right now. But we'll be more than happy to at least address the situation and bring it back to the city council and/or the proper committees.
Okay.
And Dan, when
Yeah,
you're
I think
talking
it's-
about, just to interject, when you're talking about a speed study, there's actually, we go out there and we measure cars, the number of cars, the speed they're going, both north and south, and that's part of the criteria, because if someone were to get hit by a car in and itself on one road, doesn't meet the criteria, nor does it necessarily mean a hump might help, but I think as Dan mentioned, there's a number of what they call traffic calming devices. But that street doesn't generate a lot of traffic, but there's other ways to meet the
Evans
same
doesn't
goal.
generate
Well,
a
in
lot
terms
traffic?
of,
In terms
In
of being
terms
a
of-
rural street.
Come on over during the morning
No.
rush.
Well,
Yeah.
you know
Again,
what, I
without
think
the-
if we get the traffic counts, and I think, then you will know exactly what kind of traffic is going down your street, so
Okay. Well,
let's
it only
pursue
takes
that.
one car to hit a child. I'm concerned about kids' safety, so
Yeah,
wanna take-
however we address it, just as long as somebody's doing something.
Here's my business card. And I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. I
Yes.
believe the last resident, and I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, had spoken of that those residents would not be able to park on the street. Did I understand that correctly? Is that what you stated, that you would not be able? That's
not correct.
You can? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was correct, okay.
okay. Did anybody else want to address the council?
I'm Dan Maddox, this is my wife Terry Maddox. We're at 7309 Brookbank, Darien. I've read a lot of it, looks like you've been working on this for a while. The thing that really bothers me is that we have to call the police if we're gonna have guests over, and what would that entail, giving license plate numbers and all that?
No, not really.
No.
It would just let us know that you have visitors over.
And you said it was just school hours? Is it more than, I thought it was like all day, no? Is it just the
It,
school hours?
it's, I think, what does the sign?
It says
you know what?
all high
Basically all
school
day.
related and event parking.
And if I may interject for a second, let's say that you were having, your own vehicles were parked in the street. You wouldn't have to call in for your own vehicles. The police department, as they would come down the block, they noticed your vehicle, let's say, well, they would run the license plate. If that license plate came back to your residence, obviously you are a resident. So there is some common sense to the approach as well.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna have 4 drivers in my family soon, so, right
God
now,
bless
there's
you.
a hard time parking. And, so, yeah, you can imagine.
Yeah.
Condolences,
But,
yeah.
yeah, so that concern, what about when they have their friends over and they're parking out there for like 30 minutes? Will they get a ticket, or how will I prevent them from getting a ticket? I understand you've been asked to do something about this, so.
In respect, if you're gonna have friends come over, and if it's for 30 minutes, we'd probably tell you, preferably put them in the driveway, or if you know you're gonna have guests there, whether it's overnight for several hours, if you're gonna have friends over the case, we recommend that you call it in to the police department. We're gonna have a party, whatever the case is, say a pool party, we're gonna have 7 people or 10 people throughout the day here, into the evening hours. I think that's pretty much
Well, if I'm having a party, I don't wanna call the cops, but.
okay, let's call it an event.
But
The
yeah,
first
so,
party or-
yeah, I don't like the idea of calling an
Book club.
officer at all. If there's some way, we have to do something, it would be permits, and maybe get a permit that we could put on a little bitty piece of plexiglass, so when we have guest overs, they can put it in their window.
Dan, you're addressing an issue that we tried to address in all of the surveys, and the results of the survey were all over the place.
Yeah, I
That
saw
was one of the,
but-
that was one of the suggestions to get, have residents have permits for their cars. It didn't fly. It didn't fly. Now, the sign that we're talking about that's going to go up says, "No high school or event parking anytime," and then it describes the ordinance number on this sign. And it's going to be a sign in red. Chief, does that mean that residents, any car, if high school is not open, and if there's no event going on, anybody can park on the street anyway?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so,
That means you can if there's no event going on. So,
Exactly, yeah.
will you be aware of the events going on, or?
well, we were just talking
Yes.
about that earlier. The high school gives us a calendar of their events,
Oh, okay.
so we do know when they have events going
There-
on.
Okay, is it possible that the school or someone could notify us a list of those events or put them on the webpage so we know?
What can we do? Because Alderman Marquez was addressing that. We need a liaison that can definitely
Dan-
communicate better.
Yeah, Dan, the high school probably has a website, and they usually have an activities calendar on that website. And those activity calendars have all their major events. Some of the major issues that occur, though, are when the high school schedules something where they develop a contract with an outside agency to come in and use their facilities. That oftentimes isn't on the calendar. When I worked in a high school and I made out a high school calendar for the year, all those events were on it. But then we would book new contracts with agencies to come in and use our facility. And what I would have to do then is I'd have to let my police department know that that was taking place, so that they were aware that this was something that wasn't on their calendar. So that's where the issue comes up. But you can go on their website. Hinsdale South has a website, and they have their activities, or they've given you an activities calendar. Parents get activities calendars. And all those activities are on their parent conference nights, vacations, things like that. You should be able to find that right on their website.
Okay, the only other people that usually use the school a lot is the swarm baseball, swarm soccer.
That would
Swarm-
fall into event parking.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah.
would be an event parking, so
Yeah.
if the swarm could give us an event information or have that some way we can contact them, so we know an event's going on. And if we do, fall under that we went to, there was an event and we didn't know it and we had someone parked out there, is there some way we can contact City Hall to, get that ticket, voided?
We did talk about that, right, Chief? That you would,
Police department, contact the police department and let us know, and we have a review process for any parking citation issue.
Oh, well, that'd be perfect, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Dan.
I just have one thing. I would like to say that we leave Brookbank the way it is, and there's parking the way there is, and there's no restrictions or anything, because I don't think the people on our street at Brookbank want to even deal with this. We'd rather just let all the high school, yeah.
Well, it's a real conundrum for us to what to do,
Yeah.
because we get complaints
Right.
over the years. I mean, I've been on this council for a while, and we've been getting complaints for a long time, many years. So what do? Do we ignore?
Well, I think Evans is more of a problem than our street, honestly. I mean, what does it happen, 4 or 5 times a year that we have people park on our streets? I'd rather have them park on our streets than have to call and deal with, can we let my guests park here or not? And I have 3, high schoolers and college with kids coming and going all day, all the time, and to me, it would be just more of a headache.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to address the council? No, I just asked if anyone else wanted to address the council. Okay. Let's get back to, did any of the council members have any announcements? Okay. Let's go to the approval of the minutes of April 21st. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Seifert, seconded by Alderman Belzak. Any additions or deletions for the clerk? Let me see. Oh darn, I didn't make a note of it. If I find it, I'll let you know. Okay, all right. If there's no additions or deletions, let's, the roll, please.
Seifert,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Belkey,
aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
6 ayes.
The minutes have been approved. The next item is receiving of communications. Alderman Marquez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had a phone call the other night from Mr. Lou Mallers, who's the president of the Pinehurst Homeowners Association. And our discussion that day was primarily the number of coyotes they're seeing in their area again. And Lou says, I know that you've been called about it. I know that you've talked about it. I know you've had people in to talk to the council about it, which I said, we have. And he said, and there's probably very little you can do about it. And I said, that's true. But at the same time, I said, if it makes you feel better, give Scott Corn a call. Just let him know you guys are having a problem. And I don't know if he called you, Scott, to let you know. Did Lou Mallers give you a call?
Yes, he did. And one thing that I mentioned, Mr. Mallers, and whenever residents call on coyotes, we had coyote experts come in to talk to the city council
Right.
about a year, 2 years ago now at this point, and we took an excerpt of that city council meeting and posted it onto our website under our council meeting videos called the Coyote Educational Video. So I passed that along to Mr. Mallers, who is the president of his homeowners association, and was going to pass that along to
The most important thing is that residents do not leave out food to feed these animals, because that only increases the problem.
And if you are aware of their presence, just be aware that they're generally very afraid of humans and usually do not pose a threat to humans, but small dogs, animals, cats, those they'll consider competition for food or
Territory.
territory.
Yeah.
Right.
Any other communications? Alderman Shower?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I got a phone call from a Steve Sedlak at 7705 Baker Court, and he was asking about the increase in his tax bill. His tax bill portion for Darien went from $210 to, I think, $267, and was curious why there was an increase to it. And I basically explained that last year we had an abatement, and we abated taxes for about $500,000. With this year's budget process, and because of the harsh winter with all the water main breaks and the cost of water, I explained that the alderman decided that this year we're not going to go ahead and abate taxes. And that actually led into another discussion, and wanted to remind everybody at home, the big thing coming forward, and it's the pass-through cost. Your tax bill will be going up, or I'm sorry, your water bill will be going on up. And it's mostly because of the cost of the water that the city of Chicago is charging us. Again, it's a pass-through cost. We had a lot of water main breaks this year. For all intents and purposes, we probably lost a couple $100,000 in water, from what I remember. Isn't that correct? With a couple leaks?
Dollars, you mean?
Yeah,
Yes.
dollars and so
Yes.
forth. So anyway, again, again, I just want to let everybody know that when you see your water bill, if you have any questions, please call the city if you'd like. Call us. We'd love to talk to you about it. But again, it's a pass-through cost. Whatever the city of Chicago is charging us, we are just going to pass it right on to the customers. So.
Alderman Kenny?
I also had a communication in regards to the property tax bill that came out from Jeffrey Prince in the 1400 block of 77th Street, and I basically explained to him what the Alderman Shower just explained to us, and he was happy with his answer.
Yeah, I think that most people's reaction when they get their bills, as we all have gotten our bills, is, oh my God, the city of Darien's raised things so high. But I think you have to really take a good look at your property tax bill and identify the items on the bill that belong to the city of Darien, and see how we rate compared to all the other taxing bodies. And I think you'll find it interesting to see the other taxing bodies, I think, are the biggest part of your tax bill.
In addition, Alderman Shower, the same resident you talked to, I had talked to him, the same conversation. He talked to me after you, and he had actually his 3 or 4 tax years or tax bills laid out of the last 4 years. And after going through those, he did see just last year, that one dip, and saw the fact that what he's actually paying this year was what he was paying 2 years ago and 3 years ago and 4 years ago, and then understood the one-time abatement that the council had.
Yeah. If there's no other communications, let's move to the mayor's report. And the first item is a very special one for me, a mayoral proclamation for an individual who has dedicated many, many years of service to the city of Darien, and his wife Roberta is with him this evening. And I'd like to read that proclamation honoring Art Wernley, Whereas 2 decades ago, the City of Darien established a cable channel to provide residents an easily accessible way to view meetings and keep updated on community programs. And whereas in order to operate the cable station has needed dedicated operators who program the meetings, control the cameras, and broadcast to residents. And whereas Art Wernley has spent the past 20 years recording city council meetings, budget meetings, intergovernmental meetings, and a variety of other meetings and programs. And whereas Art Wernley was very skilled with operating the cameras, utilizing great features such as text and screenshots to give residents a great viewing experience, and whereas Art Wernley has dedicated thousands of hours to help the community become more connected with their city government and other taxing bodies, and whereas the City of Darien is reliant upon many dedicated volunteers who work tirelessly behind the scenes to keep Darien a nice place to live. Now therefore, I, Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, do hereby proclaim this May 5th, 2014 as Art Wernley Day in the City of Darien in recognition to the service Art Wernley has provided for our community. Art, do you want to come up and receive this proclamation? And our gratitude for all of the years. I understand, would you like to speak to the City Council too?
Just that thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity, but I can't recall exactly when we started. I got a memory, but not quite that good. I do remember we were in the corner somewhere with the camera on our shoulders and standing up and talking or recording the black ones in black and white tape on videotape, but I just can't recall. It's got to be obviously over 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's been an experience.
Well, Art, you've been a dedicated volunteer for the city, and we know we could always count on you to come in a pinch to record that. Art and Roberta, you're moving. Yes. You're moving out of Darien. How dare you?
Well, we're going to go a long way.
I heard. To Lamont, huh?
No. Willowbrook.
Lake Hinsdale Village.
Oh my gosh. Art, come on up. And,
Finally on the camera.
yeah, you're on.
Hey, you're on camera?
You're on camera.
Here's the man.
Joe's in the back. Joe's in the back. Thank you very much. Thank you. How are you, sir? Thank you very much.
You can't forget this side
Oh,
now.
I won't.
Thanks for taking the 20 pounds off me every meeting the last few years. Pleasure.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, sir.
It's the gentleman who's going my house.
A day and a half?
Oh my gosh.
Thanks for the free commercial, Art. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Art. Best of luck. The next item under the mayor's report is a motion to approve the reappointment of our department heads. Brian Vanna, City Administrator, Ernest Brown, Police Chief, and Daniel Gombeck, Director of Municipal Services. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Belzak. The roll, please.
Marquez,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
Would all three of you come up and be sworn in, please?
Watch your head on that screen.
Did he try the line age before beauty on you, or what? Yeah.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
And please state your position.
of municipal services
According to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Here are your
Okay, your cards. Okay. Thanks, Thanks, everybody. Thank you, guys. Thanks for serving again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for serving again. Thank you.
I put your card here.
Oh, thanks.
I think you got me already, but that's okay. Twice is okay. Let's move to the city clerk's report.
Just one item on the agenda. Meet and greet with Mayor Weaver will take place on Monday, May 19th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall in the upstairs conference room.
Let's move to city administrator's report.
Well, thank you, Mayor Weaver. Actually, one item I've asked Scott to update the council and the residents on is the electrical aggregation. The council took action not that long ago, probably a month or so ago, as we're going out trying to hunt for new and cheap electricity for the residents. So go ahead, Scott.
Yes, the city of Darien has been out to bid 3 different times for our electric supply. What we're finding now is that the market is very different from where it was a couple of years ago when we were able to get really one of the best rates in the state of Illinois. This time we're finding that rates are close to what ComEd's rates are going to be, and they could possibly be higher than what ComEd will be depending on how the ComEd rate changes over the next 3 years. One of the items that was very important to us when we went out to bid was that we had the ability, if the ComEd rate did drop lower than ours, to be able to cancel our contract and go back to that ComEd rate. The suppliers that we've gone out to bid with have not provided that provision in the contract at this point. So we are continuing to go out to bid. Our drop dead date for being able to continue with electric aggregation is May 15th. So we're still looking at this, we're still keeping an eye on it, but it may make sense to go back to that ComEd rate or just wait and see what the market does over the next year. This would not keep us from going out to bid and going through the process again 6 months from now if we found the marketplace to be a little bit better. But the savings that was approximately $359 per resident over the past 2 years, the marketplace is different now. So residents can expect that rate will go up as of July, August.
And of course, the current provider would not honor the rate that, yeah. And of course, now in hindsight, don't we wish we had taken 3 years on our rate instead of the 2 years that we did? But it was a kind of a situation where it was the first time around. We didn't know what to expect at all. My question to you, though, Scott, is do we have to go through that whole opt-out process again with with all the residents responding?
We would not need to.
If they responded the last time, opt-in or opt-out, they do not have to do it again?
That's correct. So they would still receive another letter telling them that they could opt out if they wanted to. But that's really in any scenario. Residents always have the opportunity to opt out when you choose a new supplier.
At any time?
Correct.
Okay.
Especially when you go to a new bidder, there's going to be a letter that goes out, so all residents have the communication. They know, all right, if I want to cancel this electric supplier and move to another one, they have that information.
Now tell me about how NIMEC is handling this. Are they looking to bid every day? Is there a set program of how these bids are run?
We can go out to bid every single day, and we see how the market's going. It is difficult to predict where the market is going to go. Different municipalities have also had different strategies in doing this. Some municipalities have said we're going to lock in our rate right now, and we could be higher eventually. Some have said, well, we could do that, and if we ever get to the point where we are higher, we can let all residents know, and they'll have the opportunity to opt out themselves. There's difficulties with each one of these. We have a large number of senior residents. We have a large number of people who have difficulty just keeping track of some of these things. And for a couple dollars a month, we've really taken that on as a responsibility.
Okay.
So we're just constantly evaluating that and waiting until it really makes sense.
Okay. Treasurer Corn?
I just wanted to clarify one thing, Scott. I think the reason that there isn't this dramatic savings we saw before, ComEd's rates were significantly higher 2 years ago when we went in and locked our rate. And the reason we're not finding the significant savings at this point is because ComEd has dropped their rates fairly dramatically. So even though we would be
Their
seeing
obligations changed, so they did their rates lowered, correct?
To a very small degree. Last time, just as a comparison, last time when we went out to bid for electric prices, we received a rate of 0.454. Right now, the marketplace has given us a rate of about 0.7.
Wow,
So-
that is huge.
And it sounds like quite a bit, and that's just because we had such a great savings before. Comparing that to anything, we really hit the absolute bottom of the market last time when we went out to bid, and it's not there anymore. It's last time we were able to, the comparison I like to make is you go to the gas station and you see the low $3 price for gasoline, and you decide to wait a day, and the next day it's $3.40.
Yeah,
That's similar to
yeah,
where we're at now.
yeah.
We were lucky before, and now we're kind of back up to that market.
Okay,
rate.
so we're going to continue to go out to bid every day until the May 15th deadline.
We've been going out to bid periodically, but you can tell what the bids are going to be, plus or minus 1%, 2% by just watching the market on that.
Mhm.
So we're going out to bid periodically on it, but we're mainly just looking at that May 15th date,
Mhm.
unless something changes in the marketplace over the next couple of
Okay.
days.
So are all of the bidders coming in about the same rate, price?
There's about a 5-6% spread between some of them at different points, and
That's
some
a
of them are
lot.
higher at different points, and not all of them offer the exact same terms of the program. Some want to have termination fees. They're really not very comparable bids. So we have a spreadsheet that we analyze all the different aspects of the contract
Yeah.
that we look at regularly.
Well, we certainly wouldn't want to pick a vendor that has a termination fee.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, that would hurt our residents if we did that. Okay. Okay, so you want to keep us, let's see, we're not going to have a meeting before, our next meeting is May 19th. How are you going to communicate with
We'll
us?
keep the city council apprised. The ordinance that was passed allows allows staff to sign that when that happens, and when we do see that correct rate and come through, we'll let both the city council, but also all residents know through Direct Connect and every mode of communication that we have.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions for Scott on that issue? Did you have anything more under the administrator's report?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, let's move to department head information questions. Any of the department heads going to address the council?
I just have one quick comment. Alderman Shower talked to me about the concrete strike earlier. Just let all the residents know, the strike has been settled. The concrete crews are back in town. They started today, so we are back on track with the concrete program.
Okay. How about, do you want to give a status report on 75th Street?
Currently, 75th Street is behind schedule. I've been trying to get a better understanding of how much under schedule it is. In my opinion, it's approximately 3 weeks, and some of it is weather-related. There's also some other issues with a dump site, so I'm still waiting for further correspondence to come back from the county in explaining what is the real schedule at this point. So we are attending weekly meetings. I do plan on attending another weekly this meeting and finding out what the answers to that question. We'll keep everyone updated. I'm also touching base with the local merchants around Brookhaven to see how, if at all, business has been affected, and working with additional signage as required.
Have they been affected?
Dunkin' Donuts tells me that they have been affected at this point. What we're doing with Dunkin' Donuts, we just issued them a permit for a banner to basically be able to put in the right of way, whether it's some afternoon special, some type of direct advertising that would be in good taste to the community, and let the basically the motorists understand that they are open and ready for business.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for any of the department heads?
Go ahead, Chief. There was an update you wanted to give in the 4th of July parade. I think the Lions Club has been talking about that a little more with the police department. So go ahead, Chief.
Yes, as we prepare for the 4th of July parade, the Lions Club has offered an alternate route, and based largely on the construction. And that route involves staging at the Jewel store, going north to 71st Street, eastbound on 71st Street to Clarendon Hills Road, and then culminating the parade at Hinsdale South High School. And so I guess that's the Lions Club preference. Excuse me. And logistically, it works okay for us. But
Well, it's taking it off 75th and Plainfield completely, and it's reversing the route, basically.
it is reversing the route, and it's going through the neighborhood along 71st Street. So
Interesting, okay. How are we going to communicate that to the residents on 71st Street?
it's my understanding that the Lions Club was going to go door to door with that.
Okay.
We're just the facilitators here, and we have no
Pardon me? No, I'm
no-
sorry. Go
no indication that whatever the council decides is what we'll ultimately do.
I know Jeff is out there. Jeff, just a question. I mean, when we talked about it with Dan Gombeck about a month or so ago,
we were talking about starting the Hinsdale South going on Plainfield Road to Brookhaven, and Mr. Manos was going to assist us with ice cream and barbecues and things like that.
True, but after meeting with the police and understanding the traffic that they would have to block, and basically it was a concern about the interstate of I-55 and coming down Cass, and all the roads they would have to block, and the manpower it would take to do that, they kind of didn't think that was a great idea to do it that way.
In other words, the traffic that would be going southbound towards I-55 would have to be blocked off.
Right.
Okay.
And then basically, they thought it would just feed into the residential area. People would kind of get trapped in there and just kind of try to find a way out.
Well, we've got the issue of if we do have the usual turnout of residents that we do at this parade, they're going to be on residents' lawns.
Right.
Or you know,
On the easement portion.
on the easement portion, but, you know, that's, who knows what's going to spill over into the front yards. This is,
Well, I mean, I could offer, I'll offer this from the Lions Club perspective. We would actually just walk through that after the parade and make sure we could clean that up if that's that concern.
yeah, okay.
Because Downers Grove has their parade down Main Street,
Yeah,
and
and
it's the same.
Hinsdale does.
It's the same issue where they have the front easements where people are along
Right.
the walk there.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to understand why you guys changed, because you guys seemed real happy
Mainly
with.
because of traffic, maybe
Okay.
because of the amount of streets that the police would have to block off, and probably the manpower it would take to do that.
Okay.
Well, we just don't know what the situation's going to be like
Exactly,
on
this way-
75th
this-
and Plainfield on parade day.
Correct, and then if you use 71st Street, then it avoids all of that. It doesn't matter what the construction is at that point in time, because you're avoiding the whole thing.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Any other questions?
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
I have a question for the chief. I've heard of some robberies happening in the last few weeks. Lyman and 75th was one, and then there was some in our neighboring town of Woodridge where individuals are getting targeted, not vehicles this time, and they're right on person.
We think that, excuse me, the one at Lyman and 75th Street was an isolated incident, we believe, and that was not a robbery, it was an attempted robbery, and the offender was unarmed, he ran away. The neighboring robberies in Woodridge are completely different. There's been three in Woodridge and one in Westmont at 67th, I think that was Cass. The MO is the same, the offender's description is essentially the same, and our crime analysts and the detectives are working to put together a pattern right now, even though it does not directly affect Darien, the potential for it to affect us. And probably by Thursday, we should have something out that basically describes it. Woodridge has already put it out on Direct Connect, and we're putting together something that's a little more comprehensive.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the department heads? Then let's move on to the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, I'm requesting council's approval of warrant number 131424 in the amount of $100,982.43 from the listed funds and payroll for the period ended April 17th, the amount of $235,486.56 for a total be approved of $336,468.99.
Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Seifert, seconded by Alderman Belke. Any questions for the treasurer? Just for the viewing audience, we have a work session a half an hour before city council meetings, and at that time, many of the questions that anyone has are answered then. So, the roll, please.
Seifert.
Aye.
Belke.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
And the treasurer wants to go over the police pension meeting.
Yes. As I mentioned in the previous meeting, we had a meeting of the Police Pension Fund last Wednesday. Both the investment advisors provided their first quarter as well as their calendar year performance numbers, and I just wanted to pass that along to you. First quarter for the one investment advisor had a return of 1.21% with a year-to-date, this is calendar year, January through December is the way they track it, of 8.31%. And our other advisor had a quarterly performance of 1.54% positive with a calendar year of 7.12%. Both percentages are in excess of our 7% bogey that we look at, so I'm pretty comfortable with that and pretty pleased with the overall performance considering we have to maintain 50% of our investments in there in fixed income, which last year was not a very good year. It was actually a negative year for fixed income, so the equity markets are what really provided the entire performance last year.
And you said it was a calendar year, January to December.
The numbers as they present them in their report, right? I mean, we will be updating these as of April 30th and getting the actuary to work on the numbers for the current year. But the fact that these are calendar year, I mean, and April looks like it's tracking fairly flat to maybe slightly up from where we were in March. So I would expect we should be able to hit our numbers.
Well, those year-to-date figures are pretty impressive.
Well, again, our bogey is 7% that we use for actuarial purposes, so one over 7% and the other 8%. So hopefully we come in a little bit ahead of that, which should make our actuarial computations go a little bit more positively, and hopefully that'll affect positively in next year's contribution.
Okay, yes, we would like that. Standing committee reports. Alderman Marquez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to report that last week, the Municipal Services Committee approved and submitted to the clerk's office the minutes of the March 24th Municipal Services meeting, and that our next meeting has been moved to Tuesday, May 27th, 2014, because Monday, May 26th is the Memorial Day holiday. We'll be meeting here at 6:30 in the council chambers on May 27th.
Alderman Shower, please.
Today's May 5th Admin Finance meeting was canceled due to lack of agenda items, and our next Admin Finance meeting will be held at 6 p.m. on Monday, June 3rd, 2014, in our upstairs meeting room.
Okay. Police committee, do we have a report on that last city council meeting? Do you have a date for the next police committee?
The next city council meeting date,
May 19th.
2 weeks from today, yes.
Okay, that's they meet at 6 p.m.
Correct, in the police department.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to questions and comments, agenda related. Do any of the aldermen have any questions, comments on items that are on the agenda this evening? I'd like to open it up to the audience if anyone wanted to address the council on any of the items that are on the agenda this evening. I think we discussed them already. Let's move on to old business, and there being no old business, I'll move right to the consent agenda. We have numerous items on the consent agenda, and I'm going to go over those for the viewing audience. Item A is a motion amending our Title V, Chapter 9, special uses to add medical cannabis cultivation centers and dispensing organizations thereto. And the next item is a motion to direct staff to proceed with the design and build plan and cost estimates for the Darien Point redevelopment parcel located at Plainfield Road and Cass Avenue with the clock tower, a fountain, and a park-like theme. The next item is a motion to approve an ordinance of the City of Darien, DuPage County, ascertaining the prevailing rate of wages for laborers, workmen, and mechanics. This is an ordinance that we pass annually. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution to enter into an engineering agreement with Christopher Burke for professional services for a controlled wetland management burn at Dale Road Basin in an amount not to exceed $6,000. Now, we haven't had a burn on the Dale Basin since it was formatted by the county. Okay. All right. The next motion is a resolution to add quantities to the current contract with Suburban Concrete for apron restorations for the 2014 ditch maintenance improvement project in an amount not to exceed $65,000. The next motion is to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of one new 2014 International 7400 SFA 4x2 cab and chassis from Rush Truck Center in the amount of $73,642. Our next item is a motion to approve a resolution temporarily waiving building permit fees to encourage home improvement, maintenance, and upgrades for our residents during the 2014 construction season. The next motion is to approve a resolution for the maintenance of streets and highways by municipalities under the Illinois Highway Code. This is another annual resolution that we pass in order to qualify to use our MFT funds for road-related projects. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Classic Fence in an amount not to exceed $20,810 for the purchase and installation of handrails for the City Hall and the northern entrance to the police department. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Martino Concrete in an amount not to exceed $20,484.63 for the removal and replacement of sidewalk, stairs, and ADA ramps at City Hall and the northern entrance to the police department. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the County of DuPage as it relates to our city-owned infrastructure and certain maintenance responsibilities as part of the 75th Street DuPage County construction project. I think there's 3 items involved with that. The water main project on Plainfield, what were the other 2, Dan?
Water main, street lights.
Street
there was
lights,
some
yeah.
maintenance, and there were some issues related to possible contaminated ground within
That was
the
it,
area.
okay. The next item under the consent agenda is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between the city and Muscat Painting and Decorating for the Phase 2 of our 2014 fire hydrant painting in the amount not to exceed $36,435. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with BAME Pavement Maintenance, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $111,090 for our 2014 crack fill program. The next item and the last item is a motion to approve the expenditure of budgeted funds to purchase a police K-9 vehicle in an amount not to exceed $27,164.10. From what I understand, that is just for the purchase of the vehicle. We'll be seeing a later motion for the equipment that will go into the vehicle. Is that correct? Or the movement of the
It's largely a transfer of the current
Transfer.
equipment because we're able to retrofit
all the equipment
existing
fits in the
cage.
new one.
Yes.
Yeah.
There'll be other minor expenses of lighting, painting, some of the setup work.
Yes,
Oh.
that's correct.
Okay, with that said, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Belke. The roll, please.
Shower,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
All items have been approved. The first item under new business is a motion, consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance amending Section 9-3-2, which is our prohibited parking of Chapter 3, which is parking restrictions, Title 9, traffic regulations of our Darien City Code. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Marquez. Seconded by Alderman Seifert. Discussion.
I would
Alderman
like
Belke?
to, yes, as the ordinance and this is proposed, I would have to not vote for it as written. I would like to propose that the Evans goes forward with the proposed signage, and the Elm Street goes forward with that proposed signage, and then we take Brookbank out at the moment, and we can, I guess we can monitor, the situation with those 2 solutions and see how that affects Brookbank, and if there isn't any more further complaints, we can always add them in later, I'm thinking, but right now I have some reservations of just going all no parking, even though the residents understand they can park and they'd have to call, but that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Well, I'm thinking considering 1/5 of the residents that are going to be subject to this ordinance showed up at the city council meeting, not feeling that this is suitable for their street, I'm going to second what you're saying, that Brookbank should be excluded and only Evans should be included at this point.
Well, I was when I mentioned, when I read what the sign said, to me, that provided the caveat that we were looking for. I mean, I will defer to what the council wants to do, but I thought that with the language on the sign gives us that opportunity to allow residents to park on the street when there's no events going on, and the high school is not open. So it was just, I thought that was a good consideration, something that was very positive about what is being proposed this evening.
I think you're absolutely correct, but I think one thing that's been nagging me really from day one, and I've mentioned before, is are we creating an issue out of something that's not an issue? And I think for a lot of residents, at least on Brookbank, it's not an issue. So really, we're creating more of an issue. So I think you're right. That's what the ordinance does. But I think maybe we're exposing people that don't feel they need to be exposed to because they don't see a problem with it.
Or strong.
You know, as I said, and I think Alderman Marquez said this is not the first time we've had this issue. I mean, we've dealt with this issue of parking around the high school for years, absolutely years. What would Target, in your minds, revisit and put Brookbank on this program? I mean, is it one complaint? Is it, how do we measure when the time is to make a change?
Well, I think that we can see how the other thing happens. I mean, if you exclude Evans and then all of a sudden people are parking all over Brookbank, you know, that could cause a problem. So that's an unintended consequence that we would have to revisit. I think what I'm hearing a lot on Brookbank too is a stronger police presence would help a lot too, because if people are blocking driveways or hitting mailboxes or what have you, you know, or speeding, that's all police. That's all police stuff. So if they step up, maybe the presence, and then we see if there's any unintended consequences off of Evans. That's one thing.
Alderman Belke, can you recall how many homes are on Brookbank? I have a hard time visioning how many houses are along
About
both
13
sides.
maybe.
Sounds about right. I mean,
About 13?
Because there was 26 surveys that went out, and
26
that's for the
surveys,
two
right.
blocks, with a couple
So
on Evans.
we had at least four families. We had one from Evans, and was it 4 families that were here out of the 13?
I guess my 2 points. Number one, I think Alderman Belke brings up a good point, and that is that if we exclude Brookbank, there may be a problem when you put the signs up on Evans. People are now going to use Brookbank, so we're going to have to revisit it a 4th time as a municipal service committee and as a city council. I guess the other thing is, and I don't mean to sound like a complainer, but we had 3 municipal services committee meetings that were all public meetings. People are invited, surveys went out, all these people knew we were discussing those, and no one showed up. And only tonight, because it's on the agenda and there's going to be an ordinance passed that's going to affect who they show up. And I understand some people don't move till the last minute, but I would have appreciated the people from Brookbank coming to one of our meetings back in January, because we would have been dealing with this issue tonight. It would have been solved back then. But no, we're listening to this tonight, and I'm sympathetic to them as well. But I think you're going to have a problem in Brookbank if you exclude it, because I think the people who can't park on Evans now will move over to Brookbank. So I think it's going to be an issue. So I'm not for changing the way it's currently listed.
Any other discussion? Alderman Belzak?
Well, I think Brookbank's a little different because it's farther away from the ball fields and where people come out of Hinsdale South's driveway. They go down Evans. They don't go and then go down to Brookbank. Brookbank is actually probably no closer than parking at the across the street at the football field, or maybe it's a little closer, but not dramatically closer. So I do see a difference with Brookbank.
But it's the first street east of Clarendon Hills Road, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. That if I remember correctly, that was the street. Has there been a big turnover in residents there? New owners? New
Well,
owners?
there are new homes though on that street. There were some.
No, they just had.
Right, Danny, because Dan's house is a newer home, but there were some tear downs and some rebuilds, correct?
Just Dan's.
Just Dan's.
Yeah. I don't know. If I remember, that was a street we got a lot of complaints from. In years past. I'm saying in years past. Yeah.
And I spoke to 4 of them.
Oh, there's not 13?
Oh, there's not 13? There's 8.
There's 8 houses?
You have Evans and you have Janet, there's 8 on Brookbank.
8 on each side? Or total? Boy, you got big
Okay.
houses.
4 and 5 and 3, that's it.
Other thoughts? That's the problem. That's the problem, you know? Yeah.
We still had them here though, and as far as when was going on in January, what dates and stuff were going on, I missed that. I'm not sure about when that was sent, and we're talking about being here for the past.
January, February, and April, 3 months, we had it. 3
Yeah.
months on our agenda.
And then, of course, the written surveys that went out to you also. Yeah, yeah.
I would like to throw out that if the council or the city feels that, you know, that's not really, they want to take a stance, you know, on, for the people that have filled out the survey, and, you know, one of the other options is to do the one side of the street, so you do have some relief, but it's not a complete ban, because I think what I'm hearing too is it you know, went from we're doing what we want to the no. So if there's a way to, you know, if we feel like we want to step in as the city has the right to do, you know, with the safety, and you know, that would be the other option, to do the one side there. So that would fit with the one side on Elm and the one side on Brookbank, and then have Evans be open. Anybody?
Oh, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of in the middle. So you please kind of both sides.
Good negotiation.
Well, if we have a motion and a second on an item, so if we're going to reconsider that and change that, then we need to withdraw our motion and our second, and we need to.
No,
or-
amendment, that would
We
be.
have, well, that we have to amend it then.
Yeah.
We have to vote on the
First, we'd have to
amendment.
vote on an amendment before
Right.
we vote on the.
So are we offering a
Well,
motion?
okay. The first thought was to take all restrictions off of Brookbank. Now you're suggesting parking on one side.
Suggesting that, yes, if the city wants to step in and, you know, kind of move forward on something, because they do have a history of Brookbank complaints, then that would probably be the area to do that amendment.
Are you making the motion?
No, I don't know if she's made that, no, I don't think, I think she's still thinking it out.
Right.
Which side of the street?
Wait, are you saying now make the one side of the street, or in the future if something, if
Well,
it
I'm
becomes an
leaving
issue?
I'm leaving it up for discussion. If we feel strongly that, you know, the city should step in, then we might as well do it now.
This used to be my ward.
Is there, Chief, is there any particular side of the street that makes sense for emergency vehicles going one way or the other?
No, because they can come in from either way.
Is there a certain pattern they come off of, like heading south the majority of the time, or?
I can't speak for the fire service, but for the police, no, it doesn't matter. It depends on where the officer is when he gets the dispatch.
Okay.
Wouldn't be the east side of the street where you would not want them to park at, because if they're gonna be turning down Elm and then go left on them, then they're heading north, so you don't want them parking on the east side of the street? They'd have to come back around and park on the west side?
It's possible, but it sounds like the residents that are here, that have the traffic coming in, you know, revolving, would be on the east side.
They'd
So
want
maybe-
they want the parking on the east side?
So I'm thinking you would want the parking on the east side, because that's where a lot of your,
We're on the east side.
right, so would that make sense to have it on the east side?
But there's more houses on the east side.
You have more houses?
Houses on the east side. There's only 3 houses on the west side as far as driveways in and out of.
Hmm.
As far as you have more space to park more cars.
That makes sense.
The cars between houses, you have an empty lot. Between McGill is left, and the house between Henson, there's a whole empty lot as of right now. You only have 2 driveways. You have a lot more space for cars on that side as opposed to 5 driveways. You have maybe 1 car, 2 car. When offering off that side, I'd say west side.
Yeah.
That does make sense.
When you come in and you're coming down, you're leaving, you're making a right turn on Elm, you're meeting that Gardner's Road, and you're out of there. You won't make any left turns, you try to go back up Elm back to H Street, you can't make that. You make your right and you're
We're
gone.
gonna have to.
Okay, so the west side makes
But
sense.
if school's out, what do you measure? That's the most impact, having when school's in.
So I would make a motion then to amend?
Yes, why don't you do that? Let's get this moving and make the motion to amend.
I'd make a motion to amend, and I'll restate what it is, and that would be to have Evans keep the ordinance as is with the sign, no high school or event parking. On Elm Street, we would have the sign for no parking on this side of the street, on the north side. Right, Dan? And then for Brookbank, it would be no parking this side of the street on the on the west side?
West side.
West side.
I think the amendment could.
Did we meet?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Did I get that right? The west side?
Reverse that, no parking on the east side, only parking on.
There you go, because there's more spots on the west side, so no parking on the east side.
I think all you have to do is make an amendment to adjust the parking on Brookbank. That's all you need to make.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Made it more difficult.
Adjust the parking on Brookbank, but we're still going ahead with the no,
Everything else stays the same.
so we're not doing anything further with no high school events then. So it's
The
just
signs
stays-
are still, those signs are still going up.
Just on Brookbank.
Those
is the
signs, we're
change.
just limiting it to
Right.
Brookbank on one side.
Right, okay. And Elm, as was proposed,
Everything
Right.
else, as
Everything else
proposed
was
is,
proposed.
okay.
So the three homes on the west side will have to call City Hall or the police department. So basically, we're taking three homes and telling them, because you're not here tonight, we're gonna do your side of the street.
No.
Yeah, but Miguel's gone. And we arbitrarily picked, I mean, the west side has three homes, and as you said, it's easier to do it on that side of the street. So now those three homes have to deal with not being able to park in front.
But Joe, they could park on either side still. I mean, a resident who lives on the east side or west side, I mean, on the west side could still park on
They
the
can
east
still
side.
park wherever they want,
They can park,
if they're
right,
residents, yeah.
Or on the east side could still park on the
Right,
west side.
right.
on the west side.
okay, the amendment is to amend parking on Brookbank to limit it to the west side only. No other changes in the ordinance. Do we have a second for that
Madam
motion?
Mayor, I'm sorry, I'm confused. On Brookbank, we have parking on the west side and no parking on the east side? Is that correct?
Yes,
Correct.
Okay. But residents can park on either side at any time?
the residents, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. Thank you.
This is extremely,
Which they would have been able to
conflicted
do
here.
with the signs. But
Do you feel comfortable with that
Yes.
amendment? And it was,
Second.
it was seconded by Alderman Belzak. The roll?
We do it in the reverse form. We'll do the amendment first, and then we'll do the
That's
original
correct.
motion.
That's correct.
Okay, Belkey,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Marquez,
no,
Shower,
Aye.
Seifert.
Aye.
6 ayes, or 5 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
The amendment has been approved. Now, I'd like to ask for a motion. Actually, we already have that on the table, don't we?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, so we're going back to the original ordinance as amended. Is that correct?
No,
That's how we phrase it?
no, the one that we just voted on was the amendment to the amending section. So now this one you want the amendment to pass, correct?
We
Thought we
just
amended
passed
the
it.
motion.
Right.
We just passed
We
it.
amended the motion, didn't we?
Pardon me?
I thought we amended the motion,
We
or the ordinance.
did,
So now
Okay.
we're voting on the ordinance.
correct.
Okay, I get you what you're
As
saying.
amended.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yes.
okay. Okay, and who was the motioner and second?
It was
one?
Marquez and Alderman Seifert.
Okay. Okay, I imagine there's no further discussion, so the roll, please.
Marquez,
no,
Seifert,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
McKenney.
My name changed?
I was gonna say Mr., I'm sorry.
I like it.
At least
Kenny,
it-
well, Kenny votes aye. I don't know about McKenney, though. I don't know what he's voting.
At least it was you this time.
Shower,
Aye.
okay.
We're getting punchy here.
5 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
That's classic.
The amended ordinance has been approved. Item B, under new business, is a motion to approve a resolution approving the plat of drainage easement for the installation of a storm sewer at 122, 126, and 130 Iris Road. Motion to approve, Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Kenny. Discussion. The roll, please.
Marquez.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Belkey.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Seifert.
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
The motion has been approved. The next item is questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Do any of the aldermen? Alderman Shower?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. May 18th, exactly 13 days away, is our Darien Dash. Just a reminder to sign up on the website under dariendash.com. But also want to let the residents of Hinsbrook know that we're not going to be sending out flyers to the homes or putting flyers on their doors, letting them know of what street closures there are. But if you do go to the website, they will tell you which ones are being shut down. It has not changed, but again, we just want to let everybody know May 18th, that Sunday morning, streets in the Hinsbrook area will be shut down. Not all of them, but most of them for Darien Dash. Thank you.
Alderman Marquez?
You know, Madam Mayor, I know we had it under the consent agenda, but when you read it, I thought to myself, if I was a resident sitting out there, I might question what this was about, and that was item A under the consent agenda. You know,
Yes, but yeah, by law, thanks to the state in its infinite wisdom, they allowed us to actually pass ordinances to regulate and identify locations for people to grow or cultivate medical cannabis. But as it stands right now, there is no location in Darien where you can cultivate it. But we have to have this ordinance in place. But we also, as part of this ordinance, we had to identify dispensing organizations. So that is what this is about. This has been imposed upon us by the state, and we are following direction and putting these ordinance in place. And it's a proactive approach. We have not been approached by anybody at this point for cultivation or dispensing, but we needed to have this ordinance in place should we be approached by anyone. So.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay. Yep. So don't go running out and.
We're not going to build medical cannabis
Yeah,
centers.
yeah. Okay. So if there's, if anyone in the audience wanted to address the council? Okay. So with that said, I just ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Kenny, second by Alderman Belkey. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good evening. Gee, the first Cubs Sox game is on tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it really?
They had, I know, it's early this year.
It's gonna be a brawl.
And there's only 4 games.
Yeah.
Oh, they cut it back?
Monday, Tuesday,